So America has a love affair with big pickup trucks. Those aren't my words, those are Axios words. I read an article the other day and we're going to talk about it in this video. They don't want us to own big pickup trucks anymore. Here's why. Now, most of us know that pickup trucks are very, very important in the marketplace in America. One, because they're so versatile. Two, because they can actually tow something. And three, you feel a little bit safer when you drive them. And there's no surprise that the top 3 most sold vehicles in America are all pickup trucks. The Ford F-150 takes the top spot. The second place goes to the Chevy Silverado, and third place goes to Ram trucks. So when it comes down to this article, it seems like there's some people who have some concerns about safety. This is not how you go about it. So here's what Axios is saying. I'm going to read the article to you guys, and I'll let you guys follow along. So they basically say why it matters. Sales of these huge trucks are sustaining car makers, bringing in record profits they can use to develop expensive technologies like electrification and automation that will drive the industry in the future. Yet, pedestrians, this is where they are going to make their point. Pedestrians and road safety advocates say today's massive trucks are a hazard given their size, weight, and driver blind spots. Now, I don't care who you are. If you get hit by a truck or a car, it's gonna hurt. I promise you that. So their argument is trucks have blind spots. Yeah, they kind of do, but trucks also have better line of sight going down the road too. But we're gonna talk about something next that I kind of agree with them on. But there's a reason why these changes have been made over the course of time. So here's what they say. In the 1980s, about half of pickup trucks were categorized as small or mid-size. But by the 2010s, small pickups had nearly vanished and full-size trucks dominated. So think of it like this. Back in the 1980s, that was kind of the tail end of like the industrial world that we knew, or once knew, I should say. It probably ended before that, but around that time, a lot changed. There's more technology. There's a lot more farmers starting to sell land and retire. And so people didn't need big, long beds, because that's kind of what this, this article is talking about. They're saying that back then trucks were mid-sized because they were typically just 2-door, 3-seat, long bed. But let's take a look at something that they created here, because I think it's really cool. And by the way, they do take a shot at truck owners, especially Ford truck owners, because you guys do not use your trucks for anything other than cruising. Let's be completely honest. Although we'll say we all do that in Chevy and Ram world too. Before I show you guys the size increase of the cabs over the years, I wanted to show you what I was talking about. So 87% of F-150 owners use their pickups for shopping and errands. And only 7% of those people rarely or never use it for that. On the flip side of that, 7% are towing frequently, and 63% of those people rarely or never tow. So if you own a F-150 or any half-ton, go buy a trailer right now. Let's change this narrative. We need to tow more. Just kidding. So here is what I was telling you about. So they have a really cool, over the years, comparison of the truck sizes for the cabs and for the pickup bed. So from 61 to 79, they were saying about 36% of the truck was the cab and 64% of the truck was the bed. Now, well, here's what you have to understand. That makes perfect sense, and here's why. Back in the 60s to 70s, people still had a lot of land. People owned farms, and people had trades. So, of course, the trucks were much more needed for hauling things. I mean, notice how this truck has 2 fuel tanks. That was a big thing back then, too. On the same note of this, back then, people weren't towing as much. I mean, trailers weren't as big as they were today. Now, let's go down to 1980 to 1997, all right? So, there was a small increase in cab size and a small decrease in bed size. So 40% and 60%. Let's go ahead and keep going. From 97, ooh, I jumped a little bit. Sorry about that. From 97 to 03, now it's 50% cab, 50% bed. And again, that makes perfect sense because now this is where towing became pretty big. I mean, RVs got bigger. Fifth wheels definitely got bigger around this time frame. And so people didn't really need the huge bed as they did because they weren't owning a lot of land. You know, townhouses, things like that are becoming more popular around these time frames, and so on and so forth. And then as you go into the 2004 to 2015, this is where the cab became bigger. But why did it become bigger? Now, this is a question I want to answer. When you think about the 80s and 90s, pickup cabs were inconveniently uncomfortable. In most cases, if you needed to go out with your family, you had to take another car. And early on in the late 90s into the 2000s, that's where you start to see the cabs grow in size on all pickup trucks. And think of it like this too. As I mentioned, these trucks became more capable. So if the truck became more capable, you can tow a little bit more trailer, which means if you do own a business and you need to tow a trailer and you had large guys with you, wouldn't it be more convenient for you just to take one car? Let's keep going. So to 2015 to 2021, the trucks have now entered into the most luxurious part of their life cycle. They're a lot heavier, and quite honestly, I think they're nicer than even some of the high-end luxury sedans out there. But 63% of this truck is going to be cab, and 37% of it's going to be bed. Now check this out. This is the last thing I'll show you guys here, and this is what I really like that they did. So over the years, you can see how the bed sizes have changed. But as I mentioned, these trucks have become more capable. Now granted, we can argue that even though they are more capable, they don't have the payload, whatever. You know what my channel's about. However, it doesn't matter because there's a lot of trailers that these trucks can tow in this category that really these two would have a hard time towing. And that's just in part to more power, better drivetrain. And these trucks are just more capable overall. However, they still are limited to their payload capacity, which means you can't carry a bunch of stuff in the beds, which is why the beds are a lot smaller. Now there's one more thing I want to go over in this article. I didn't go over everything with you, so I will put the article down below. So deadly effects is what they titled this part of the article. They talk about supersized trucks and their greater risk to pedestrians and other drivers. Now, drivers of today's trucks sit much higher, creating a blind spot where small children or wheelchair users are hidden from view. And they have an illustration here of a Toyota Camry and a Ford F-150. Now, in the F-150, you can see pretty much from the torso down to the legs, you have a higher impact zone, as they call it. And with the Camry, you have a lower impact zone. So, as I said earlier, if you get hit by a car, it's gonna hurt. And quite honestly, the part of this article where I hate that they left out is the reason why you probably got hit by a car as a pedestrian, or why smaller cars get hit by bigger trucks, is because people have this in their stinking hand at all times. I'll go down the highway and I'll see someone driving like this, and I'm like, really, dude? Really? Like, on their phone, like, looking down. And in my mind, I'm thinking, that is more of an issue than anything else. If you want to talk about, safety, that's probably why the pedestrians are getting hit. So that's the problem I have with this article is, it doesn't talk about that. I know they want to try to make pickup trucks an issue, but the truth of the matter is, this is not as big of a deal as they're making it out to be. They even talk about how a 8-year-old child is out of view if a truck is coming down the road. And again, if you're not paying attention, then sure, yes, you can hit a small child. You can hit anybody if you're not paying attention. That's just common sense. And that's the part of this article that I hate. Now, I know some people are probably going to think that this is not that big of a deal. And you probably might have thought you might have wasted your time watching this video. But I'm going to give you 3 reasons why I think this is a big deal. Number 1, this conversation, and you see how great they illustrated this thing. This conversation leads to changes that will only affect the end users, i.e. the truck owners. You have to understand something. They're trying to electrify cars, trucks, and they're actually incentivizing people to buy electric cars. These people who wrote these articles probably drive electric cars. And they probably would never, ever buy a truck because they have no interest in ever towing something, hauling something, or even spending that much money for a truck because they don't see the value in them, right? So let's talk about that. They could always increase taxes, registration, they can apply gas guzzling fees, anything they want to deter people from buying trucks, which means I'm always going to buy a truck. So I'm going to have to pay more money to purchase something that I need to use. So it will only affect those who actually need trucks. And that kind of leads me into my next point is this only affects a small group of people. So a lot of people, as you can see, buy pickup trucks, right? There's a small amount of people who are against pickup trucks. So if they change anything on how we are able to purchase trucks, that's going to affect a huge pool of people. And the people who are upset about big trucks are a small group of people. And this is the problem I've been seeing even in the news when you look at the narratives that they're trying to make. I mean, take gun control, for example. They don't like rifles. A lot of people don't like rifles. I own rifles. That's all I have. And I like those guns because I like shooting them. But why should I not be able to own something? Because I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't gone out and assaulted people. Quite honestly, I would never bring out a gun to any fight. I would always try to talk a fight down anyway. So for me, when you look at the mass shootings, that's when they're always trying to control narratives for, gun control. But half the time, the guns that are being used are not assault rifles. So that is the problem that I have with these types of articles is always going to affect a huge group of people, but the people who write these articles is a small group of people. My last point I'm going to make is, it's my truck. I can use it how I want. As I said earlier, who cares whether someone tows or not? If a guy or girl wants to go down the road cruising in a pickup truck, that's their right. They can do that. And some people just feel safer inside of a pickup truck. So whether they choose to drive it because they have a RV camper that they pull or whether they have nothing, it should not matter. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I don't want to ramble anymore. But yeah, like I said, I hope that this article empowers us truck owners to buy more trucks. By the way, I have 2 trucks I'm going to be purchasing this year. And quite honestly, I really don't need one of them. And I hope that it makes you upset. See you guys in the next video. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But it shouldn't affect you in any way because why should anything I do bother you in the first place? Just saying. If you want to make changes in your life, don't let it affect me. That's all I'm asking.